Now for the CHF Overtime Podcast, and joining me now as we conclude Saturday night of pool play is the Executive Director, Scott Solomon. I've got you on the podcast. Now I got you in person, opposed to over the webcam.
Yeah. No, again, it is better in person. I can tell you that much. Yeah. It is ever in person.
It's easy to talk, much better in person. Finally get to meet you this weekend, opposed to over the webcam all this time. So, Scott, first time here at the tournament. How's the first 2 days been for you?
Yeah, this is phenomenal. Again, I've been part of other national championships as a player and as a coach and as an executive, but this is different. I mean, there are 40 teams. Today was the first day of all 40 teams. So we had 20 games going on today, wrapping up right now. It is pretty special. The players seem very excited. Fans are rolling in. Again, it's just a good time around a great game.
You know, that motive for this league when you came on board is just to give the players that better experience. It's just like maybe the weekend doesn't go your way, but it's a great experience, not just for the players, but for the fans and family members as well.
Yeah, we've been stopped by players, win or lose. We had a team actually lose day one, unfortunately dropped the second game today. I think there were about a dozen kids stopped by Tournament Central to say what an amazing experience they've had, something they've never been a part of, and that's an 0-2 team. So I know they say the old adage, winning isn't everything. The boys are here to win, but to see that overall attitude after a tough 0-2 start, I mean, that's why we do it.
You know, giving those players that experience, like you mentioned, 0-2, but then, you know, you're in front of the camera, you got a microphone, you get all this spectacle, you got Verbero, you got all these sponsors here to really make this tournament into like a March Madness of hockey.
Yeah, I mean, again, in theory, this is the highest level of hockey these boys will play. And to maximize their experience with, BioSteel, Verbero, again, Howie's Hockey, all of our sponsors, just coming by this table, the broadcast booth, the interview booth, seeing the trophies, it should match the highest level of hockey that they've been a part of. And that's the show that we're trying to put on.
And Scott, you got the whole family down, right, this weekend? How are they liking it?
Again, everyone's enjoying the experience. Again, hockey people in general, non-hockey people. I mean, hockey moms, hockey grandmas. I was sitting behind, I'm not going to say what team it was, but I was sitting behind a hockey grandma. And I'm not quite sure she knows what's happening out there, but she's having a good time. And she's rooting for her grandson. Rules somehow escaped her a little bit.
Doesn't understand. Yeah,
it's
not
too
fast,
quite sure.
You know?
It's a lot going on, but again, I can tell you she was having a good time.
I had a similar experience last year with a grandma coming up to me and telling she knew me. I'm like, I don't know you, but she knew me. She was having a great time at the tournament. I'm like, that's fantastic. Ages all across the board.
No doubt.
Just having a great time. But Scott, you're able to check out some games. I know you're popping your head into Fairfield, the Farmingdale game before, Farmingdale D3. Any teams that you've been liking so far? You got to speak carefully.
Yeah, that's an impossible question.
I know.
I actually thought we were closer friends than this.
Yeah,
I thought we were. Yeah, look out for the bus. No, but at the end of the day, you have 32 teams, and in the national division, 8 in the American. There are clearly teams in the American that could play in the national, and those are some pretty special teams that we dub D3, or their campus dubs them D3. But that's a very high-paced bracket in and of itself. And when you take the top 8, there's a lot of parity there. You saw that in the Tampa D3 New Haven game. New Haven going down 5-0. Not quite sure if they had arrived. I'm not sure they knew it was a 60-minute game. But when they realized they were in a game, I mean, they held control of that game for the last 40 minutes, ended up losing 6-4. Hard to spot a team like Tampa 5 goals in the front. In the national bracket, though, there's a lot of parity as well. A lot of one-goal games. We had, for the first time ever, the entire pool tie.
Yep,
I assume you talked about that yesterday. But, yeah, there are teams that stand out. And every team at this level has 8 forwards and 5 defenders and a good goalie. When you get here, I know you have that. The teams that really stand out on day 2 and day 3 are the ones that roll 4 lines. The teams that have a quality backup to give that starter a breather, because playing 6 days in a row for any goaltender at this level is a big ask. And then in conjunction with that, when you just have that depth, it may not show on D1, and it may not show on day 1, but certainly by day 2 and day 3, and then into the quarters, you get exposed if you don't have that.
And you mentioned right in the beginning of the podcast, you have experience in this national tournament. So is that day one? You got the bus legs, first day of the tournament. Is it common that teams maybe come out a little slow and you see one team one day and then the next day it's a completely different team?
Yeah, and again, the big thing at this level too is not only the bus or plane legs. We have teams that have plane legs here. Yeah, absolutely. But teams that have been there before. Teams that aren't. I know it's not the bright lights that we have around us today, but it's still a big stage. Some of these teams travel very, very well, and these are some of the largest crowds they've played in front of. So, yeah, whether you're nervous day one, don't know what to expect, never saw your opponent, and maybe day two you have a familiar face. But the big difference, too, in these games is the special teams. So I watch a team play 5-on-5, and then the next day, they're down a man for 14 minutes. They're taking 8, 10, 12 minors, and you just can't do that here. You just can't do that here. So it's a different game when it's 5-on-4, 5-on-3, 4-on-4 versus a 5-on-5 game for 60 minutes. You really tell, who has the legs, but also, again, who's disciplined. It's not always the best team that wins. It's the most disciplined team that stays out of the box and gives your team the most chances.
Discipline goes a long way in this tournament. You can't be shooting yourself in the foot because before you know it, you look up and we're down 1, we're down 2 because you're constantly getting into the penalty box. So anything you're looking forward to see for the rest of the weekend? Tomorrow we're going to have some big games, most likely the one and done games that decide the pools.
Absolutely. And that's what tomorrow is. There's a lot of, kind of 1 versus 2, top 2 seeds in the bracket in the pool playing. And there's a lot. I mean, that Georgia Bonnie's game has been circled since the brackets were drawn. The Babson-Binghamton rematch of last year, that was circled. Certainly those are the 2 big ones that stand out tomorrow. But there's 8. I mean, that South Carolina, Alabama, we might be in a tough spot where we have 2 teams undefeated because of their tie, and only one can go on.
Yeah, the tiebreaker situation.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we just had the goaltender for Alabama on. They get the first crack at it, so South Carolina's got the first look at them.
Yes.
And it's going to come down to the goals against, so limit the goals against if you're Alabama and South Carolina. We're going to have a weird situation tomorrow, Scott, with that one.
Well, that's what happens when the entire pool ties on day one.
Yeah, who would have drew that up?
No, I know. Again, according to Sarge, who's the assistant tournament director here, it's the first time that, that's ever happened. But again, that just goes back to the parity that exists at this level. It's good hockey. It's a lot of fun. And again, there's a ton to look forward to for the rest of the week.
So we got 1 more day to go for pool play, and then it's the real one and done.
Sure.
Quarters, semis, and the championship game. Scott, the executive director of AAU College Hockey, welcome aboard. Welcome to the tournament. Thanks for coming on to the podcast. Jordan DeLuciano alongside Scott Solomon at the AAU National Championship. Stay tuned. Scott, we still got some games going on. We got Bonnie's number 1. We got Niagara. We got Binghamton going on right now.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to go catch the first period of that Niagara game right next door.
Yep, and we said Bonnie's in Georgia. Everyone's looking forward to it. Maybe Mass Marathon time throws a wrench into those plans.
It could. Certainly could.
So lastly, AAU Executive Director Scott Solomon, Jordan DeLuciano. We'll see you all soon.